I was hooked on the adrenaline, hooked on the brotherhood. Like I loved my job. It was awesome.
Welcome to Black and Blue, the podcast that's just for you. We bring solutions to everyday problems. We are here to humanize the badge by interviewing first responders and discussing their trainings, experiences, locations. Black and Blue airs weekly at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune in.
Teaching me Arabic. So she taught me how to speak, read, and write. Because for years, I was knocking on the counter-terrorism office door. Like just going like, hey, I'm gung-ho, I want in, blah, blah, blah. And it was a very, very hard team to join. But I just kept knocking on the door. And eventually I had an opportunity that opened up, and I just jumped at it. And I'll always remember the interview with the boss of counterterrorism at the time. And he's like, you see, we do the interview, and at the end of the interview, he goes, do you know why I'm going to hire you? And I'm like, okay, why? And he just goes, because you just look like you're going to explode out of your chair to work for us. And I'm like, yeah, man, like I'll go mow your lawn. I'll wash your car. I'll do anything to join your team. And he's just like, yeah, I can feel it. So welcome to the team. And I was like, yeah, that was awesome. Holy shit. Most of this stuff is not super complicated, for one. And I wish I knew these things when I was a police officer. Holy crap. Had I known these things, my career would have been so much better and so much more interesting. I think I would have been much less stressed. I could have managed situations in a much better way, etc. But so it became like an obsession, and I've read so many books. The one big thing that hit me was the link I actually made between leadership and my time as an undercover guy in counterterrorism. I spent 6 years recruiting people, like recruiting sources and agents. So the difference in Canada, I don't know the difference in the US, but in Canada, a source is somebody who will give you information, confidential informant. And an agent is actually somebody you recruit to take action on your part, right? So I could have Clee go and put a very specific package in a very specific residence, for example, or go knock on the door and ask for something, or, so you're going to take actions on my behalf, which is kind of a level up from recruiting sources, because it's the jeopardy is much, much, much higher. So I spent 6 years doing that continuously. Like 24/7, basically. And then I realized that everything I learned in recruiting sources applies to leadership. Because what do you do when you recruit people? You convince people to do something. You influence people in taking specific actions. And that's what leadership is. Leadership is influence, right? And so when I realized, holy crap, I can totally connect the two. Like last year, I started offering little seminars, free seminars that I was doing online. And I was just testing this thing where I was like, okay, try this with your employees. And people were getting these huge results. And I was like, holy crap, I think I've got something here. This is awesome. So I went and I got my leadership coach certification, which really, really allowed me to broaden my skill set in helping. But one of the main things you do, if you want to recruit a source, one of the main things you do as a team is, let's say we want to recruit Clee. Well, we are going to find out as much about Clee as possible. We're going to find out what Clee likes to eat, who he hangs out with, where he hangs out, at what time does he go to bed? Does he work out, not work out? Does he like funny things, not funny things? Does he drink, not drink? Find out your motivations. We're literally going to figure out what buttons we can go and push so that you're going to do what we need you to do, right? And so that totally applies to leadership. And so currently I'm managing a team of 60 people about. And one of the things I always teach all of my new frontline leaders is get to know your employees, but get to know them deeply. Understand what their motivation is. Because most frontline leaders, what's their reflex? They'll go, hey, you need to go over there, go patrol in this area. Or, go do this task or that task. And just because I told you. But most employees need a little bit more than that. And if you're given a very specific project or a bigger task or take on more responsibilities, employees need to be given a little bit more information than that. And if you want to have motivation with your employees, you need to align what you're giving them with their motivations.
Right.
But how are you going to do that if you don't know what that is? So you start off and you chat with your employees. Let's say you're my employee, Clee. I might have, a conversation with you where I'm going to say, hey man, what's your objective with your career? Where do you want to go? What interests you? What are you really good at? A different question could be, what do you want to learn? Or is there something you want to grow into? And so I was so happy. And then, I got my first posting was in the area of Vancouver. And I was hooked on the adrenaline, hooked on the brotherhood. I loved my job. It was awesome.